What's going on, guys? It's your boy, the wisest and most powerful of all nerds, Brymeezus. Yes, I know I still haven't done a review for Super Mario Odyssey, and it came out before Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. I haven't beaten it yet, and I've been playing the downloadable content for Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, which I also just finished. So I don't want to give a review on a game unless I've combed through it in its entirety. It's just the way I am. I have to give you guys an honest, top-down review. Pokemon is the world's most popular franchise. The second will be Star Wars, just to show you how big it is in comparison. It's another devious move by Nintendo and Game Freak to make money off of their loyal servants. Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon released on November 17, 2017, an exact year later than the original Pokemon Sun and Moon games were released in 2016, maybe just one day off. When reviewing Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, I will be speaking from the more hardcore and competitive player perspective. I'm sure the question on your minds from the gate is it truly worth the buy? To be brutally honest, it's situational. If you're a Pokemon fan of any kind that has missed out on the 7th generation of Pokemon, then it's no doubt that Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon is superior than the other versions. With the slight improvements that is made over the original predecessors, plus the accumulation of updates, adjustments, tweaks, and new features that accumulated in Pokemon over the past 20 years, Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon make a strong case for being the best Pokemon games ever to be made thus far. This game is totally worth the $40. But on the other hand, if you already have Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon, the game isn't really worth the $40 because all the new content that can be found in Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon really just can classify as downloadable content that we could have gotten in the original game. Except for the fact that they did give us some more handsome graphics and visuals in the Ultra versions. However, the added detail largely goes unnoticed unless you put the two games side by side. A lot of us religious Pokemon fans and competitive players just bought the game because our cultural conviction to the Pokemon franchise prevented us from not doing so. In addition, a lot of the new content, such as the new Pokemon that can be found and the new items such as the Ultra Z moves and whatever, you can just trade them over from one version to the other, so it's not really worth spending the $40 just to trade them or update it or send them to yourself in the first place on your newer version. Especially since Nintendo could have just charged us $10 or $20 at the most for downloadable content for all the new Pokemon that they added for this specific generation and the new items as well. The added story elements are just like 99% of the main campaign, unchallenging. I understand that Nintendo and Game Freak is always looking to encompass the next generation of gamers and make it seem as if Pokemon is not intimidating and it's for everyone. And that's fine, but give us like a hard mode or something so we have to incorporate like a real strategy and actually practice real battle tactics that will help us be proficient in competitive Pokemon play. Yes, I know things like the Battle Tower, or in this case, the Battle Tree, doesn't really help because it teaches us that brute force is the way to win more consistently most of the time, and oftentimes you end up losing in the Battle Tree just because the computer picked the most unconventional but perfect team to counter whatever Pokemon you're using, or some random, completely improbable worst case scenario thing will happen to screw up your winning streak in the Battle Tree. Usually the latter or the combination of the two. And while I'm on the topic, the Battle Agency is just a worse version of the Battle Tree where you can use borrowed Pokemon. Supposedly the Pokemon have better movesets the further and longer you're playing in the Battle Agency. I just haven't had the patience because you start off by having Pokemon with crappy movesets. You might as well spend the time making your own Pokemon and battling competitively. Why couldn't we get something like the Battle Frontier from Generation 3? That's not to say that I don't enjoy the Battle Tree. I do, but Game Freak got extremely lazy the last two generations with the Battle Mageon and the Battle Tree. We really want, at minimum, in the 7th generation, something like the Pokemon World Tournament that we saw back in Pokemon Black and White 2. But specifically something like the Battle Frontier that did test your Pokemon skills in a variety of ways. Going back to the main story is largely unchanged from the original Pokemon Sun and Moon games. Plus, again, the overall difficulty is insulting. Even the later parts of the game where you're fighting against Team Skull members, they have very weak and low-level Pokemon that don't pose a threat to your team whatsoever. This is more time-consuming and easier than random Pokemon encounters that you'll see in the wild. And it doesn't make any sense. Strangely, there is one part of the main game that merits as difficult, and it's pretty difficult. You have to fight Necrozma in his alternate form. Honestly, I had to use my Pokebank to get legendary Pokemon in order to defeat Necrozma at this point in the game, and that was because I was training 16 different Pokemon just to give myself an extra challenge while playing the main story. What's also sad about this difficult part of the game that you still have a ways to go before you even get into the Pokemon League after this specific battle. The Pokemon that you have that are capable of defeating Necrozma are strong enough to easily defeat anything else that you will face after beating Necrozma, including the Pokemon League right then and there. They should have made this battle happen right before the Pokemon League, or at least right before. There are going to be a few battles here and there throughout the story that may require a little bit of effort, such as the Totem Pokemon that you face, but that's entirely due to the fact that it's a 2 against 1 Pokemon battle. One absolutely atrocious change that was brought to Generation 7 was the fact that they took out triple and rotation battles. Though I did like rotation battles, they weren't the most popular. Triple battles was a poppin' way to play. Unfortunately, this time around in Generation 7, they gave us a new type of battle format, which is the Battle Royale, which is a free-for-all battling system that isn't quite as fun as it sounds. They might as well call it the prosecution system when you're battling, because it's very easy to win by luck, and the primary focus is to gang up on one specific player to knock out all of their Pokemon. I love playing Pokemon competitively, but one thing that I really do not like about that Game Freak decided to do this time around was allow Ultra Beasts to be used in Battle Spot. What are Ultra Beasts, you ask? Ultra Beasts are Pokemon that are from a different dimension that can be found in the 7th generation of Pokemon. They have ridiculous stats that easily rival legendary Pokemon, such as Mewtwo or Lugia, for example, and they all pretty much have an ability called Beast Boost, which is basically Moxie on steroids. Every time an Ultra Beast knocks out an opponent's Pokemon, its highest stats gets raised by 1 stage. Which wouldn't be such of a problem if the Ultra Beast didn't have some of the highest stats in the entire game as it was. On top of that, the 4 minor legendary Pokemon that are the most broken minor legendary Pokemon we've ever received in the series. I can't even really classify them as minor legendary Pokemon because they're worse than Pokemon like Lugia or Ho-Oh. Each of these Pokemon, such as Tapu Koko or Tapu Lele, has an ability that summons a specific type of terrain on the field. Either electric, psychic, fairy, or grass, each boosting their respective type attack by 50%. Basically a 100% increase because they already get a 50% attack boost from the same type of attack bonus. While also doing things such as preventing your Pokemon from falling asleep and other static conditions such as poison, burns, or paralysis, confusion, etc. And negaiting priority moves from your opponent's opposing Pokemon. Take Tapu Lele for example, who is a Psychic and Fairy type Pokemon. It has one of the highest special attack stats in the entire game, but due to its Psychic terrain, its Psychic type attack power is doubled. Also fairly fast, and with a Choice Scarf, it can only be outmatched by another Pokemon that has a Choice Scarf. And Pokemon like Scizor, who normally melt Fairy type Pokemon with Bullet Punch, can't even use priority moves because of Psychic terrain. And even if you manage to knock out Tapu Lele, this Psychic terrain will just be there until 5 turns are up. The fact that these Pokemon are used in Battle Spot and are illegal under Smogon rules is absolutely atrocious. There are over 800 Pokemon, and at least a third of these Pokemon are competitively viable, not including legendaries. But it's the 7th generation. Instead of seeing the most variety we've ever seen before in a competitive Pokemon game, it's basically the same 12 Pokemon or less being used over and over again. Can we please change this so we can see much more creativity, strategy, and diversity in Pokemon 2017? I don't think that's too much to ask for. If you want to use just 12 Pokemon in competitive Pokemon play, you might as well just go back to Generation 1. Again, this primarily refers to the Battle Spot. I know I'm sounding very pessimistic in this review, but what you guys have to understand is that I love the 7th generation of Pokemon. I can't overlook its flaws, however. Pokemon is still a phenomenal franchise, and these are phenomenal games. However, I don't care if it's Star Wars, Zelda, or even Spider-Man, I'm always going to keep it real with you guys and not sugarcoat it, or overload you guys with my fandom to the point that I give you a false idea about something. Because Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon doesn't necessarily offer you new content that's worth of $40 if you already have the original Pokemon Sun and Moon versions, I have to give Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon a C because it's a mediocre attempt of moving the franchise forward, but but at the same time, it is a significant leap from Generation 6 if you haven't played the previous version. If you're a fan of Pokemon, check out some of the other Pokemon content, and stay tuned for more Pokemon related videos coming down the line in the near future. This is your boy Brimesus, the wisest and most powerful of all nerds. I will see you guys next time.